Well, hello, everyone. I hope you are ready for this extra special episode. I am very excited. We have a Dr. Darnyelle here with us today. And, she's a really, really interesting woman. You are going to like this show. I met Darnyelle at an Ali Brown event, and now she's part of the trust as well. And I remember when I met her at the first Ali Brown event, I was just blown away by, I don't know, I'm going to call it her leadership skills, her presence, her willingness to just stand up and speak and call people out if they say the slightest thing that isn't empowering to themselves. And so I'm super happy to have her here today. And I'm really, really thrilled to be helping with the celebration of her new book. Darnyelle, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Lisa. I was chuckling because I knew exactly where you were going when you started talking about that very first event where we met. So I'm excited to be here and excited to have your audience listen in on this powerful conversation that I know we're going to have.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I mean, you and I have not had a ton of conversations together, but we've had enough conversations that it's like every time I talk to you, there's just a little spark of something that is special. And so thank you for saying yes to being here.
Absolutely.
So let's start by, you're writing this bold book about, move to millions. And I want you to tell us a little bit about your backstory because I know you didn't start there. So tell us a little bit about you, where you started and where you are.
Absolutely. For those of you who'll be able to see me, I did not wake up like this. I promise you, I am the product of two drug addicted turned crack addicted parents born in the projects of Wilmington, Delaware. My mom went to jail when I was 8, and so I was raised by my father and my stepmom. Sometimes she was my step monster. And it was very evident very early in our merging of the family that she didn't want us there. I used to hear her on the phone telling her girlfriends or her mom, I just wish Jeannie would come and get her kids. Like my mom was down the street, right? Like not that she was incarcerated. And so I grew up questioning who I am and trying to find a way to prove and validate my existence. And so as a result of that, I was a high achiever, overachiever, because I knew that if I did things that made people stop and celebrate me, then I would be proving that I deserved to actually be there. That's a good thing. And it's a bad thing.
What makes you good makes you bad.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Professionally, it turned into graduating at summa cum laude from University of Delaware, starting to work in corporate America within 3 years, becoming a vice president. Professionally, it meant looking for love in all the wrong places and never quite finding it. As my career progressed, I actually stayed in corporate America for about 12 years. I literally woke up one day and was like, I don't think I'm supposed to do this anymore. And I walked into my boss's office and I quit without a plan. Don't try this at home. If you still work a job, create a plan before you walk away. But I walked away and I said, I'll land on my feet. Worst case scenario, I am employable. I can go and get another job. And so I did Mary Kay Cosmetics full time for about 2.5 years. Ended up getting a couple of pink Cadillacs, becoming #1 in the state of Delaware, overachiever. So if I put my hands on anything, I'm going to do it and I'm going to do extremely well. And then about 2.5 years into that, I realized that I still wasn't doing what I was truly called to do. And so I started Incredible One Enterprises, my company, which its first iteration many, many moons ago, 16 years ago, in fact, it was abysmal. It was the reason I ended up filing bankruptcy and going back to work. I worked full time for 2 years after officially starting the company. And during those 2 years, I went to learn the things that I didn't know. Mary Kay was great and it taught me entrepreneurship, but it wasn't ground up entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. It was a proven business model that someone else had already worked all the kinks out of that I could just show up and work. Whereas having my own company, there was no blueprint. There was no plan that we knew would work. And in those early years, it wasn't working, which is why I ended up running out of money, filing bankruptcy, going back to work, trying to figure out how I was going to become unemployable. Came back into entrepreneurship full-time in January of 2011 with a vow that I would never work for anyone else ever again. Here we are today, 2023, 13 years later, 8 full-time employees, multiple millions of dollars, Inc. 5,000, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Remarkable. So I have a couple questions from that. You said that you had faith that you would land on your feet.
Mm-hmm.
And you said you weren't doing what you were being called to do.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you are a woman of faith.
Mm-hmm.
Has faith always been a thread in your life, or is that something that came later in your life?
It has always been a thread from the standpoint of being dragged to church as a child. I did not know God for myself until I was in my 20s. I was engaged to be married the very first time, and my first ex-fiance, and yes, I did say first, I've had 3 ex-fiancés. My first ex-fiance announced 3 months before our wedding that he had gotten an older woman in our church pregnant. We were 24 at the time, and the woman he had gotten pregnant was 45. So that was, I
Not
always have
fun.
to chuckle because everybody else, like, they're ready to swallow their tongue. But I've been in therapy since I was 18, y'all. So I have done all the work, no trauma. And so, but that was the catalyst for me to build my own connection and relationship with God. It started out very religious at first, and today it really is a relationship that does have a center around spirituality and faith. And so the threads are always there, but today it is an important part of who I am. Like I don't go anywhere without my relationship with God. And I'm one of those people who's bold and unapologetic about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Interesting. So I'm curious, I grew up with a single mom and, obviously different circumstances than you. But I'm curious where you got your strength of personality and your confidence from, given your upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
One of
Yeah.
the things that I see a lot of women lack is self-confidence, and your cup runneth over.
I was about to say, I got it in spades. And it's so interesting because I get this question a lot. It is such an enigma because my early years were filled with questioning my existence. But I think that once I finally grabbed a hold of my birth story, so this is the part I learned later in life, was that my mom didn't even know she was carrying me and she was getting high every day. Now, this was 1975-ish, so there were no warnings on labels or anything saying you shouldn't do this because it could harm your unborn child. So there was a lot of speculation, but the reports were starting to surface. Doctors were starting to paying attention to drug use and what it might do to a fetus. And so when my mom went to the doctors complaining of heartburn that was incessant, she couldn't get rid of it. The doctor said, "When are you due?" And she's like, "Due for what?" And he's like, you're pregnant. She, of course, burst into tears, immediately stopped getting high, but the doctors thought the damage had already been done and that it wasn't likely that if I did survive that I would get to experience life, because there were some early reports and indications that this was not a good thing beyond smoking, right? I think women smoked well into the 80s, but heroin use, which was my mom's drug of choice at that time, was starting to show signs that it was a problem. And so my mom had no idea what was going to happen. She prayed and she prayed and she prayed. My mom said, as she was recounting this story to me when I was in my teens, that only thing she knew to do was to pray, and that God told her to name me Darnyelle. The name they had slated for me, and thank the Lord. Thank you, Lord. The name they had slated for me was Dorothy. Oh my gosh. Could you imagine if my name were Dorothy? Like,
No.
terrible name. Sorry, any Dorothys out there, but I didn't want to be a Dorothy. But my name was slated to be Dorothy. God told my mom, name me Darnyelle, because I was going to stand out in the world like no one else. And I needed a name that would be different. And because there was never anything, Lisa, cognitively wrong with me, the only birth defect I have is in my right ear. I struggle to hear sometimes. That is it. I had a very weak immune system, so I got everything as a child. I had viral meningitis. I had all the things, and all the things that should have killed me in the 70s that didn't. So learning that in my teenage years, as I was about to graduate from high school, I went to visit my mom just before she got out of prison, and she's telling me all this stuff. And when I realized that, it was almost as if a light switch flipped. And all of a sudden, I stopped questioning who I was, and I realized that I'm a miracle, like a living, breathing, walking miracle. And yes, we all are, because
Just got
as a woman
goosebumps.
for 5 years who's been trying to get pregnant and has not been successful, if you are here and you are listening, you are a miracle. But I'm like a miracle on top of a miracle. And so armed with that knowledge, I stopped caring. I stopped trying to fit in and decided to just be myself and stand out. And when I walk into a room, I shift it. And I know that. I know people are either enamored by my confidence or intimidated by it. And I don't care either way, because I decided that the best way for me to serve this planet is to take up space. And that is what I hope I leave with people. I hope that when I catch them saying something crazy that they shouldn't be speaking over themselves, and I pointed out to them that it is an opportunity for them to see like what it would be like if they held the personal belief that they do deserve it and they are worthy of it, despite what their families might have taught them. I mean, crack it. I mean, my dad was a functional addict until the day he died.
Is your mom still alive?
My mom is still alive, and my husband says she's going to outlive all of us, because she has literally had every ailment, cancer 2 different times in 2 different places, was on hospice 10 years ago. We did all of her arrangements, and they were like, she's not going to make it. And she is still here. Still here. I call her the original gangster, because she is like, but for me, like, just all of that marred together, and everything that I've ever done has broken a belief barrier for myself or for someone in my family. I'm actually the only of all my mother's children to graduate from high school. I'm the first of my fathers to graduate from high school and go on with advanced degrees. And I just decided that, what do I say all the time? I say, I'm too dumb to doubt that I cannot do what I say I want to do. And that's just the confidence I hold. And today, so long answer to your short question, today that comes from my relationship with God, because I do believe that before we were formed in our mother's womb, God knew and approved us. So that means that we came here with everything that we need to be the success that he saw for us before they even had sex. Like, it's pretty powerful and amazing.
Mhm.
And I just live into that every single day without regard for the what ifs. And I use anything someone else might use as an obstacle or hindrance, I use it as a reason why instead of a reason why not. And it served me really well.
I love that. So, talk to us about your book. Why did you write this book?
I love this book. I'm so excited that you guys are going to be able to add this book to your professional library. It's a true game changer. I wrote Move to Millions. I mean, the end all be all is because God told me to. So I have been praying, Lisa, for my movement for years. I'm like, God, I don't have a movement. I'm going all these places and people have these movements. I don't have one. And I'm like, feeling like I'm meandering through life. Well, finally, October the 22nd, 2020, God gave me my movement, Move to Millions. He literally spoke those 3 words and I got chills all over my body. And it was then that I was just like, okay, go. Like, I mean, I call them Moses moments, and I talk about it in the book. But I realized very quickly on that success does leave clues in my life, my experience, my growth, my own business has left clues. And I figured out a proven way in order to experience a company that makes millions of dollars without sacrificing and slaving to it. And I would be selfish to keep that to myself. And so the path to least resistance is to write a book. And it even sounds like an oxymoron as I say it, because a lot of people haven't and won't ever write a book. But for me, writing this $20 book is my way of getting my work into every hand. There's no barrier to entry to learn what it takes to have a business that really will yield this level of success. And there are a lot of business books out there. What makes Move to Millions different is that we don't just highlight the obvious. We talk about strategy because, yeah, you're going to need a strategy to make 7 figures in your business. But we talk about the other things that most people don't want to talk about, and they just want to keep it to themselves. We talk about, I call it the softer side of entrepreneurship, even though it's the harder side. Things like alignment and surrender and forgiveness and the role that they play with moving money into and around your life experience. And it is really a nice compilation of real life integration. I call it part memoir, part methodology of what it really, really takes to be an entrepreneur and or small business owner that desires to execute at a level that will impact the lives of others and all of the gunk that comes up with that. Because there's
Gunk?
a
You
lot
think
of
there's gunk?
lots. I could have used another word, but I don't know if this is a PG show. Like, I don't know. But like, there's a lot of stuff that comes up. And, you know, entrepreneurship, I believe, is the way to test if you really are who you say you are. And so this book really puts it in a format that's easy to understand, easy to digest, and easy to implement. Because at the end of the day, the Move to Millions, which is an acronym for mastery, operational obedience, vision, and execution, is about the consistent action of taking the steps that are going to land you where you dream and pray about and really desire to be, but maybe don't have the courage, the confidence, or even understand what you should be doing in the simplest of terms and forms to be able to make it happen.
So, talk to me about one thing that readers will get from this book. Like, you know, when I've written a couple of books and I've got a couple of unfinished books. And one of the things that I always start with is, you know, what is my promise to the reader? If you read this book, you will get this. What is your promise to the reader if they read this book?
Yeah, it's in the subtitle. I give you the proven framework. I tell you exactly what you need to do step by step, hook, line, and sinker to have $1 million business. So my recommendation for everyone is to read it the first time through, just to read it, to read it the second time through and to implement, and read it the third time through and check off what you did or what you may have missed. We created an amazing resource companion to the book. So everything I talk about, every template and every worksheet, it's in the resource guide. So literally with this book, if you so endeavor and you are disciplined and focused enough on your own to show up for yourself and take the steps that I break down to you in bite-sized pieces, you could end up at the $1 million mark in 1 to 3 years, depending upon where you are, where you start. And the beautiful thing about the framework, Lisa, is that it will teach you how to sustain it. Because 78% of people who cross the 7-figure mark are a one-hit wonder. They hustled like hell to get there, and they don't know exactly what they did. They have no success clues, so they couldn't do it again, even if they tried.
Yeah,
And
it's
so
an accident.
it's an accident. And this is not an accident. This is a proven, tried and true way. In the last 2 years, 42 entrepreneurs have crossed the $1 million mark with this framework and methodology. I hit 7 figures the very first time in 2014. I did it 2014, 2015, and then all hell broke loose in my life and I let the $1 million business go. 2019, I came back to the $1 million mark, and we have sustained and doubled it every year using the very framework that is inside the book. There is no theory. It is what I know to be true. And I wrote it in a very casual, conversational style that will inspire you to take the actions, the simple actions that you need to take to produce the result.
Are you recording the audiobook as well?
So I will have an official audiobook later. I recorded a private podcast of me reading every chapter and putting my little extras in there that aren't in the book that we've offered as a bonus to people who pre-order the book. Once the book actually comes out, we're going to sell the private podcast, because even when I record it as an audiobook, I'm going to have to record it the way it was written because of the rights and all of that stuff. So all of my extra touches is in my private podcast.
I gotta go look, because I think I pre-ordered your book, but I don't think
Yeah, I'll send you the link.
yeah, cool. Because you're so passionate. You know, It's always disappointing to me when I buy somebody's book and it's written by or it's read by somebody else. Like Britney Spears has a new book. It dropped today, the day we're recording.
Yeah.
And I went to look on Audible because I'm curious. I'm fascinated by her story as well.
Yeah.
And it's recorded by somebody else.
Oh, I hate that
It's so
too.
disappointing.
I hate it. I just got finished reading Kerry Washington's book.
I'm reading that
Loved
right
it.
now.
Oh
Well,
my
I'm
God.
actually listening to it. She
Well,
recorded it.
right, me too. I listen to it too. When I say read, I mean listen. Most of
Yeah.
the books I consume that way. I loved it. And I don't think that book would have been any kind of good if someone else read it.
Yeah. Yeah. I
You know?
agree. I agree. Have you listened to Alicia Keys' book?
I haven't. I have that on my list. I have
So
Taraji P.
good.
Henson's on my list. I even have Jada Pinkett Smith's on my list because of all the stuff that's going on right now at the time of the recording of this episode.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The Alicia Keys one is so good.
Oh,
It's
nice.
so
Okay.
good. Yeah. Kate Northrup is who got me to read that. She posted
Okay.
something about it on Instagram
Okay.
and I replied and asked her, I'm like, is it really good? She said, I think you'd love it. And
Okay.
so I didn't buy the book. I actually prefer to listen to memoir style books and
Yeah.
read business books and highlight and underline and all that stuff. So, okay. So tell me, what change do you hope to make in the world by releasing this book? I think about, a book is kind of like throwing a pebble into a pond and there's a ripple effect. What is the change that you're hoping to make?
Yeah. I think two distinct things come into my spirit as you ask me that question. Number one, I hope that more women, and especially women who look like me,
Mm-hmm.
recognize that it's not as hard as they thought it was, and that it won't take everything they thought they'd have to give up in order to experience $1 million business. I believe $1 million business is the floor, not the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
And then secondly, and more importantly, just by the nature of who I am, I want to change the statistics. According to those statistics, 4.2% of all businesses, 33 million, make seven figures. 2.35% of service-based businesses make seven figures. 1.9% of women, 0.5% of Black women make seven figures a year. I want those numbers to double, like triple.
Mm-hmm.
I want there to be double digits of women every single year. When I think about the fact that there are 13 million women-owned businesses in the United States, I
Mm-hmm.
want the vast majority of them, 75%, to be $1 million. I mean, the world will be so much better, and everything is better when women have
Yeah.
access to money
Mm-hmm.
and they can empower others. And so my ultimate goal is that, especially women who look like me, that's why I put my brown face on my book. I know it's bold, but I did it on purpose because I wanted a Black girl or woman walking past the bookstore to see my face and say,
Yeah.
oh, wait a minute. I can have this new dream and I can think about what it might be like to make that kind of money, that I can shift generational trajectories, that I can give to the causes that I really want to support, that I can live my best life right now, and I can create wealth and financial legacy for those who will come behind me. That is what I want. That is what I hope. And I know that this book is going to do all of that and so much more, which is why I'm so excited about it. And I cannot wait for all of your listeners to get a copy. It will be on the book that you refer to a lot, like Profit First, or How to Win Friends and Influence People, or Purpose-Driven Life. Any book that The Big Leap, the books we go back to every single year, Move to Millions is going to be one of those books. I am so clear because it is such a simple to follow framework, and it takes what seems really, really hard and it makes it easy to understand and attainable, that we could actually dream and aspire to achieve that level of growth and be able to impact our families and the economy in that way.
How did you write the book? Like tactically, did you write it yourself? Did you work with a ghostwriter? Did you work with your team? Like, how did you? Because I find writing books really difficult to do.
Yeah,
And, when I was reading your bio, this is your 8th book, isn't it?
it is.
So how do you approach book writing? I know it's a total sidebar question,
No, but
but
it's great.
you're so passionate about the framework and how you've done it. And I know a lot of people listening to this podcast, they're business owners, some of them are authors, some of them are aspiring authors. How do you get good at writing books?
Yeah. So I love this question. So how did I write the book? It was so simple. It took me 3 months to write this book, first and foremost. So 3 months because this is my life. This is my framework. This is what I do. And everything that's in the book, I have a module on in my system that I've been working with clients before there was a book. I didn't just take the module and transcribe it, but I literally would open up the PowerPoint presentation, put my fingers to the keyboard, and I would type what I saw. And before I did that, because this is a critical step, I prayed and I said, God, speak through me, speak through my fingers, and put in this chapter what you want for people to read and understand that will shift and change their life. And I literally just fingers to the keyboard 3 months after my father passed away. He died last year while he was sick in the hospital. I went every single day and we would talk about this book, which was just still an idea. I knew I needed to write it, but I hadn't actually done it yet. And I am a 9 quick start. So I work very well with a deadline.
I'm an 8.
Yeah. And so I'm talking to my father. He's so excited about it. He's like, you got to get this book done. And when he passed, I just felt in my spirit, I needed to get the book done. And so I was like, I'm going to get this book done. I'm going to get it done in 90 days. And that is it. And I wrote an hour a day, every day for the next 90 days, at least an hour. And I just typed. And when I sent it to my editor, so the book is 310 pages and it's juicy. It would have been nearly 420 pages, Lisa, what I wrote.
What was your word count? Like 75,000?
It was more than that. It was like over 100,000 words. It was crazy. And when I met with the publisher, they were like, yeah, 60,000. I'm like, oh yeah, no, that's no problem. When I started to turn the word count on, was like, oh my gosh, this book is too much. So we ended up pulling so much stuff out.
Your book is taking up space just like you.
It was taking up space. It was going to be a Jim Collins Good to Great. It was going to be like 400 pages. And I was like, no one will read this book if it's that long. Even at 300, it's a lot. So what we ended up taking, I had a case study because we've helped 42 people. So I had a case study at the end of every chapter. We ended up pulling a lot of those out. I took out one chapter we just completely burned because I had everything I said somewhere else. And then another chapter, we made a bonus chapter. Like all of the templates and worksheets, we ended up making them a resource guide. So we ended up, breaking it down. But and I probably should have said this first for everyone who is an aspiring author, I am a content whore. I will do anything to create content. I love it. It's my way of synthesizing data and putting it into actionable, teachable steps for people to follow. That's why we have such great success amongst our clients. 80 to 90% of them, they achieve more than 200% growth every single year because of the way that I teach and I present. It's an extreme gift. And so it was really, really easy. The hardest part was the editing. And I didn't even know, I know it's going to sound crazy, but I don't know that I was entirely conscious as I was writing, because when I read that book back, and even as I read it again to do the private podcast, I was blown away at some of the things that I said, like just blown away. So I truly believe that the Holy Spirit was with me the entire time, which is just going to make it that much more impactful for every single person who reads it and takes the steps. But yeah, 3 months, start to finish, from outline. And that was halfway through changing the way we set up the book, because when I first wrote it, it was 3 parts: the assets, the principles, the assets, the legacy was the first way I wrote it. Halfway through was like, nope, that's not it. Let's do it by the moves. So mastery, operational obedience, vision, execution. So I changed it all the way around halfway through, filled in all of the gaps, and we still got it completely done in 3 months. And then it spent about 3.5, 4 months in editing.
It's great.
Now it's ready to come out into the world.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What is the date that it is released?
November 7th is the official release.
And I think this podcast is going to air on November the 6th.
Oh, nice.
Is it? I'm just going to look at my calendar just to see. I'm pretty sure. No, it'll come out on the 7th.
Okay.
So
awesome.
That'll be perfect. It'll be the day you're listening to this. Well, it is actually published on the 6th, but we mail on the 7th. So gotcha. Some people will be listening to this on the 6th and some will be listening on the 7th. So that's awesome. All right. So 2 more questions for you and then we'll wrap up. 1, what are you most proud of professionally?
I am most proud of being a brown girl born to drug addicted parents who is today a multimillionaire. That's what I'm most proud of. Like, if there was ever an odd, it was me. I should have been pregnant because every one of my 13-year-old friends got pregnant and has like 3 or more babies.
Mm-hmm.
I should have been on welfare, living in some projects just like I came from right now. I should have a baby on my hip. I don't know what else I should have, Lisa, but I should have all the things that I don't have. And I made a decision very early on in watching my mom and my dad, who were separated and, remarried and all of that. I didn't want that. And so I chose education. And education is what has afforded me the opportunity to get to be this woman, being inspiration for others. And then the second thing I'm most proud of is my unapologetic nature to call out mediocrity and to give people permission to walk boldly into the excellence that when I look at them, I see them to be.
Yeah, I've seen you do that. You're really good at that.
Thank
Really
you.
good at that. And I have a similar gift with my clients. It's like you can see the potential in people. You can see what they don't see in themselves, and you can hold the mirror up for them to see it too. And that's a really powerful thing to do for someone.
It really is. And to hold space for them while they begin to see it for themselves.
Yeah.
Because most of us, when granted an opportunity for someone to pour into us and to tell us what they see, we are not accustomed to or even prepared to hold space for that. We don't even know what it looks like and feels like. It makes us uncomfortable. And so we shy away from it. And we'd rather go back instead of playing big and leaning into that. And so to be a person who's able to hold that space and to keep holding the mirror up, even though they keep darting around and, but to keep holding that mirror up until they're finally willing to look at their own reflection and say for themselves that they've achieved it. It is really, really powerful. And that's what I think I love the most about the work that I do. It isn't even that I've helped other people grow their businesses. That's not what excites me the most. What excites me the most is the power of possibility that comes into their eyes when they realize that their potential is untapped and that they really can have whatever it is that they desire to have if they're willing to be that in advance. That gets me excited.
So what's next?
What is next? Well, first, I need a vacation.
Okay, that's next.
2023 has been a year of a lot. There has been a tremendous amount of growth personally and professionally. It's just been a lot. Like the good thing is that I think most of us want to be sought after. The maybe not so good thing, if you're not rightfully prepared for being sought after, is the missing self-care and the things that helps to make you actually worth being sought when people catch you, so to speak. And so first I need a break. After that, I'm excited. We have some new programs launching. We did a big rebrand of our core key message in 2021, and we're adding on a layer to our rebrand and introducing something new this spring, which I'm really excited about. And with that comes a series of new programs to serve and support burgeoning $1 million CEOs at a level where they can't be supported anywhere else, which I'm really, really excited about. So it's going to allow me to do some much deeper work beyond the strategy. Everybody thinks you just need a strategy, but no, the strategies you have will work when you do this other work. And so I'm really excited about being able to open up a space to serve CEOs and leaders in that way.
Cool. So tell us where people should go to buy your book and download resources that go along with your book.
Absolutely. Go to movetomillionsbook.com, movetomillionsbook.com.
Awesome. Any final thoughts that you want to share before we wrap up?
I just want to say thank you for getting a copy of the book. I mean, I hope you're doing it for you and not for me. And I'm excited about what's going to happen as you open it up you read it, and you take the actions that I suggest that you take. And when you make the move to millions, make sure you reach out and tell me. And if you decide that you need some community and support as you do, we've got you covered there too. And as you get the book, you'll learn all about the other resources that we've created.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Darnyelle. It has been a pleasure talking to you. I feel like I need to have you back on the show another time just to talk shop with you. I
Yeah,
mean,
I'd
the
love
whole
that.
purpose of this is, really to talk about your book, but I've got some new things planned for the show in 2024, and I want to have some different conversations with people about business. And I think that
Okay.
we could talk about some really interesting stuff because I think you
I'm
have a
here.
very different perspective than a lot of people do. So, thank you for listening, everyone. If you don't have your copy of the book, I already have mine. And I got to tell you, I bought it for her and me. One, because I wanted to support Darnyelle because I really like her. And two, because I want to know what the heck she's up to in this book. So make sure you get your copy at movetomillionsbook.com and let me know what you learn once you dig in. Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode of She Talks Business.